I am really, really honored to be giving this ethnographic talk, this ethnographic training this morning. But before going with my own talk, I would like to say a few words on behalf of the Moroccan team. So we would like, as a premise to this training, to reject this term of potential migrants. So we understand that sub-Saharan migrants who are living in Morocco can be considered potential migrants from a European point of view, but for us, they are simply migrants. They already left their country of origin, they already began their journey, and we have no idea when it will end, because by definition, migration trajectories are unpredictable and constantly changing. Moreover, anyone could be considered as potential migrants. So it was really important for us to mention this in order to present the complexity of the Moroccan context in showing that it is more than a transit country, and also to challenge the Eurocentric dominant view in migration studies. So in the Moroccan team of the ITHACA research project, we decided to collect the narrative of sub-Saharan migrants, but also of mixed individuals and mixed families to show the richness of the history of migrations in the Moroccan context. Morocco as a country of emigration, as a country of immigration, as a transit country, but also as a country that was under colonial power for a certain time. I think that my job as an anthropologist is to build bridges between people who do not have necessarily their direct contact with each other. I've always been convinced that I should use my ability to give a voice to those who are not listened to. But I came to realize that my job is much more than building bridges and giving a voice, but it's first and foremost to not hinder the voice. And to do that, you have to listen, collect stories, and of course, give a wider audience access to these stories. And this is exactly what the ITHACA research project enables me to do. So I am definitively not the first scholar to observe that migration studies on sub-Saharan women migrants in Morocco is an overlooked research topic. So researchers highlighted the fact that the existing profile that we have of sub-Saharan migrants are based on information from male migrants, the fact that there is little attention to women, to children, to families in general, the fact that this focus on the fence jumper and the chairman, the figure of the chairman and the figure of the smuggler, invisibilize women's experience, and also the fact that women are most of the time described as being under male control and as social actors with little agency. So ethnographers really contributed in making visible the economic and social roles of women in this migration, but also their autonomy, their agency, and their ways of resistance. So what I will present today are different challenges that I faced during ethnographic fieldwork. It's an ongoing ethnographic fieldwork. So I will present specifically 4 challenges, and to illustrate them, I will use ethnographic example from the relationship that I built with Lorna. So Lorna is a Cameroonian woman. She's 34 years old. She came to Morocco in 2018 to escape a forced marriage. She came with her lover. She was pregnant, so she gave birth during the journey. And when they arrived in Morocco, they got married and they had another children. It's also important to mention that both of them have an asylum seeker status for more than 3 years and a half now. So this process of exposing what is behind the scene is not so easy. We are used to talk about our research findings and much less about the challenges we face during fieldwork. But I'm sure that it could be useful because you all have stories like this that we normally keep for ourselves. So today, I accept to become a vulnerable observer. So the first challenge is related to gaining trust. I would like first to focus on the value of extended fieldwork, which is a characteristic of ethnographic fieldwork. So the duration of the fieldwork and the quality of the relationships forge a bond of trust. In other words, the more you spend time with someone, the more you build a relationship, the more you build trust and the more you collect rich data. And this is all the more important when the fieldwork is described as sensitive. I found this quote really interesting. Building up trust can only be achieved over a sustained and significant time in the field, and even then, there are inherent challenges and access has to be negotiated and renegotiated. So I met Lorna for the first time in January 2022, thanks to what we call transfer trust, so through an intermediary. So let's call him Leo. So I asked Leo to put me in contact with one sub-Saharan woman migrant who could help me to organize group interview with other sub-Saharan women. We met in a coffee shop, everything went well. I was really impressed by her strength from the beginning. 2 weeks after, we had our first direct contact. So we exchanged our phone numbers and we began to talk on social media, more specifically through WhatsApp. In March, we organized our first group interview. Lorna was there. She participated in the focus group. She shared part of her story, but she was always telling me, one day, Catherine, I'll tell you my story. In May, Lorna told me that she wanted to meet with me in person. So we met in another coffee shop. She told me that Leo was not trusting me, that he was telling other migrants that I just wanted to make money with their stories. She told me that each time that I sent her a message, she transferred it to him, and that each time she was answered me, she was also transferring her message to Leo. I was shocked. I thank her for being honest with me, and I asked her to choose. You trust me or you don't, but it won't be possible to continue to play this game. At the same time, honestly, I was totally lost. How could I know if she was telling me the truth? So she proposed me to send me some message to prove me that she was telling me the truth. So I asked her to send me just one message. She did. At that time, I was not even able to listen to the message. So I transferred the message to a friend of mine and I asked him, he knew Leo. I said, please tell me if I can trust Leo. So listen to the message and tell me if I can trust him. So he listened to the message and he just answered me, stay away from that guy. So since then, I have stopped all contact with Leo. Lorna did the same. And it was only months later that I was able to listen to the message. He said, as soon as she has taken what she wants, she will disappear. I learned from that experience. I learned that the loss of trust or testing trust also open new doors to the more complex and darker side of fieldwork. So the second challenge is related to the emotional cost of giving a voice. So not only the emotional cost of telling your story, but the emotional cost of listening to a story. So in December, I invited Lorna to talk with my student in a migration course. The day before, I had asked for her consent to record the conversation. But once in the class, since it was a teaching setting and not a research setting, I totally forgot. So before sharing her story, she turned towards me and said, you didn't want to record my talk, the discussion? And I was so happy because at that specific moment, months after, I really understood that I had earned her trust. So student begins to ask her question, she began to answer, and at some point, one student asked her if during her journey through the Sahara Desert, as you were asking, if she was in direct contact with the Tuareg. As soon as she heard that word, Tuareg, she froze. She stopped talking. She began to cry discreetly. and we saw the traumatic experience coming back through her eyes. She turned it away once again and said, do I need to tell them this? And I said, no, you don't have to tell them anything. You can share whatever you want. And she told me,
you know, sooner or later, I was going to have to tell you this story that I buried deep down. I really wanted to. I promised that sooner or later I'd have to tell you this story. Sooner or later I'm going to have to talk, because sometimes it comes back to me. It comes back. It comes back even when I'm asleep at night. You know, my husband once said to me, you're with Therrien, you can talk. Maybe you can go out. If you talk, it'll go away. But I don't know if it'll go away, because frankly, being raped in front of your husband, no, I don't know.
So the students were shocked. One student was crying. So we managed to finish the course. The student left. I was not alone. I had invited Rita, a Moroccan woman, to attend the course because the day after I had asked her to accompany Lorna to the tribunal to help her with the registration of her daughter's birth certificate. Lorna continued to give us more detail about what she experienced. She seemed relieved. But the day after, I received this message.
Therrien, do I have to be in court today?
Yes, it's better.
I don't know.
What do you mean?
You know, I really don't want to go out to see you or Rita.
What do you mean?
I'm very scared, you know?
What's going on? Afraid of what?
You know, Therrien, I can't thank you enough for making me feel good yesterday. Therrien,
What's going on?
I don't feel like going out today, you know? I really don't feel like it. On the one hand, I'm relieved. On the other hand, I really don't feel like it, you know? I feel bad, and I'm afraid of being rejected by society. You know, that's why on the one hand I didn't want to share my story. It's a bit embarrassing for me. I really don't have the strength to go out today. I assure you. I'm not sure, Therrien. I'm really not sure I'll be there, frankly.
And then she disappeared from social media. So I found a way to contact her husband that I didn't know at that time, and I told him, please take your wife, take your baby, and come to the tribunal. We can't leave her like that. So when we went to the tribunal with Rita, we went to the tribunal without knowing if she was coming. When we arrived, she was there with her very big black sunglasses. It was obvious that she had cried all night long. She asked me,
do you still want to go to Marrakesh with me?
I said, of course I wanted to go with you to Marrakesh. Nothing has changed. Because 2 weeks later, we went to Marrakesh to meet with the storytellers. It was the second artistic residence to create a musical tale we were working on. I invited her to share her experience with them. I was really impressed by the strength she found to talk to them about her experience. Much more detached that time. So the third challenge is related to an attempt to make a story public. On December 16, early in the morning, I saw that Lorna had called me at night, which is unusual. And I received this message.
Hi, Therrien. I hope you're well, by the grace of God, and your family too. Therrien, you're the one who's always telling me that I'm not undocumented. Once again, I've seen that the UNHCR paper really isn't of any use to me, nor is my passport, which simply means that I'm undocumented. What I experienced yesterday will stay with me forever.
Good morning, Lorna. What's going on?
I don't even know what I'm going to tell you. What I went through yesterday, I don't even know what I'm going to call it. At around 5:30 p.m, I got on the bus and we left. At McDonald's, there were the police. They stopped the bus and a policeman got in. As soon as he saw me, he saw another sub-Saharan. He came towards me and said, "Your papers." I took out my asylum seeker's document and my passport. He went to see the other sub-Saharan. He asked for his papers. The sub-Saharan took out his passport and residence permit, and he asked us to get off the bus. We got off. He said, "Don't move." I said, "Why am I not moving?" He said, "Because I didn't have any papers." I said, "But what you have in my hands are my papers, my passport, my asylum seeker's papers." He said that I don't have a residence permit, so I can't move. He said to me, "What have you come to do in Rabat?" I said, "I've come to pick up my parcel. I just did a return trip. I've got the ticket for the bus I took in the morning. I live in Meknes, my house is there, my husband's there, my children are there. I want to leave, please. I have two girls, one age 2, the other age 4. Please, I want to leave." He asked the driver to give me the money for my bus ticket. The driver begged him. He said to me, "You're undocumented. You're illegal. You've got no right to be here." I showed him the UNHCR paper again. He said he didn't give a shit, and that if I showed him the paper again, he might tear it up. I don't know anyone in Rabat. I just went to pick up my parcel. I just did a return trip. When I left my house, I'd only taken the money for the return transport. I was so overwhelmed. It was so cold. It was so cold I didn't even know what to do or say. I just stood there in the wind. He said to me, "You're not allowed to talk. You're undocumented." At one point I stopped talking. I was so overwhelmed. I was cold. I hadn't eaten anything since the morning, nor had I drunk any water. I just stood there like a statue. The tears started to flow. My eyes started to hurt. I said, "What's happening to me?" All my husband did was call me on Messenger. He calls me. My children are crying because my husband was so panicked. I told the policeman, "My children are crying, let me go." I said, "Sir, I haven't got any money on me." "I don't care," that's what he said. He asked the driver to give me the money back. The driver gave me 60 dirham and the bus left. During the night, about 3 a.m., the blood started to run down my nostrils because I was so cold. My heart was pounding, and my eyes and head, I couldn't understand. You know, Catherine, you're the one who used to say to me, "Lorna, stop saying you're undocumented." You see, maybe when I told you that, you didn't believe me. Here's the proof. Here's the proof today. That's the proof, because what I experienced yesterday, frankly, was pure racism.
So she took the train from Rabat to Meknes really early in the morning, and I met her at the train station. She was devastated. I was revolted. Because you need to know that what the policeman did is totally illegal. As an asylum seeker, she is protected. She can't be pushed back, and she has the right to move on Moroccan territory. So I proposed to her to contact a journalist that I knew, to make her story public. She accepted. I called a journalist. I told him what happened and asked him if he was willing to write an article. He accepted. We sent him the material. He gave her an appointment the same evening. Lorna was so happy to see that not only me, but also the journalist recognized that what happened to her was unacceptable. So the day after, I called her to know how was the meeting with the journalist. She told me that he never called her. I called him back. He said that he was busy, that he was sorry, and that he will call her tonight. The day after, she was absolutely not surprised to tell me that the journalist never called her. So the last challenge concerned ethics in research. As stated by the American Anthropological Association ethical guidelines, a primary ethical obligation shared by anthropologists is to do not harm. It is imperative that before any anthropological work is undertaken, each researcher thinks through the possible ways that the research might cause harm. Consent form, confidentiality, protection, justice, trust, accidental finding, we are all trying to respect these guidelines. However, no one ever taught me that respecting these guidelines may also cause harm. So I will share a last example with you. So as you understood, the storytellers and the musician were inspired by Lorna's story. So the night of the show, she was in the audience sitting next to me. At the end of the show, the artists stay on stage to discuss with the public. A spectator asked us why. If we wanted to make the public aware of the reality of sub-Saharan women migrants, there were no women on stage. So the musician explained that it was not so easy to find professional sub-Saharan women artists who were available to commit to a tour show. During this conversation, I touched Lorna and I asked her, "Would you like to talk?" It was clearly a way for me to ask her for consent to tell the audience that she collaborated with us in sharing a part of her story. She said no. So to protect confidentiality, I respected her choice, even if I would have liked to thank her in front of everyone for her collaboration. At the end of the show, we talked with different people, and at one point I saw that she was leaving without even telling me bye-bye, without saying bye-bye. So I ran after her and I say, "Hey, you didn't even told us if you liked the show." And she said, I'm tired. 30 minutes after, maybe, I found this WhatsApp message on my phone.
Good evening, Therrien. I hope you're well. Maybe you're already at home. The show, it went well. Frankly, I liked it. I really liked it. But what I didn't really like was the fact that you thanked so many people. But, well, my story, well, it's as if I don't exist. We even wondered why you don't work with women. I thought we were working together, that we were collaborating. If that's not the case, I'd like you to tell me, because every time you wanted to do something, you asked for my consent. I think I always gave you my consent. But frankly, Therrien, don't you think that I would have deserved even a thank you for my story, frankly, because at one point I didn't really understand why I was there. So I'm frankly very unhappy. I prefer to tell you the truth. I'm not going to play the hypocrite with you. I prefer to empty my... So I didn't really like it, frankly.
So you can imagine my astonishment. Because I wanted to protect her confidentiality, I was losing her trust. So I told her that I wanted to thank her in public, that I wanted to tell everyone that she collaborated with us in the creation of the show, that I asked for her consent, but that she said no. As a researcher, my aim is first to protect her confidentiality. She told me,
I told you that when I tell you my story, I wanted to let the whole world know what I've been through.
It was the biggest misunderstanding I've ever experienced during ethnographic fieldwork. Wanting to respect the ethical guidelines, I caused harm. We hurt her. She felt humiliated. So we talked with her and her husband for hours. And alhamdulillah, as we say in Morocco, fortunately, we all conclude that it was a big misunderstanding. 4 months later, the show was replayed. We didn't make the same mistake again. That time, we paid tribute to her. We invited her on stage to talk with the public and at the end of the show. Several children asked her questions. One child said, I would like to tell Miss Lorna that she's so beautiful and she's so courageous to have shared her story with us. Many children gave her hugs. So thankfully, we were able to restore the situation. But I was scared. I learned so much from that situation. How could I conclude? Maybe I can simply say that ethnographic fieldwork requires to constantly getting outside of your comfort zone. That there is never one unique and clear answer to the questions, dilemmas, situation, emotional stress we are facing during ethnographic fieldwork. So vulnerability is an integral part of the posture of the field researcher. The emotional management, reflexive work, and ethical positioning of the researcher are crucial to the continuation of ethnographic fieldwork. So I thank you for your attention and thank Catherine for being Lorna's voice today.